Hi, I'm Sophie Lloyd, and you're watching CMS TV.
It's your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That, of course, brand new stuff from 03, a trilogy, the final part, part 3, from Dominici. And on the phone right now, the one and only leader of Dominici, Mr. Charlie Dominici. Charlie, how are you?
The leader of the pack.
Exactly.
Good, man. How are you?
I am excellent, dude. Well, Charlie, a lot of people probably don't know this, but you and I we keep in touch, through the MySpace quite a bit, and over the last, 6 months or so, you've been hyping me on, you're going to love this new record, dude. It's got a great twist. It's heavy. It's this, it's that, and I got to give you credit, man.
Yeah.
Exactly right, dude. That's exactly how I went into it. It's like, I sort of hear that a lot. But, man, you have really delivered, dude. This record rules.
Well, thank you very much.
Well,
thank you very much.
Well, Charlie,
yes, we've been conversating. We've been commiserating for a few years, you and me.
That's right.
Commiserate. That's the word,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
I think it was invented by Tony Soprano. Our wives are commiserating.
Yeah, they're commiserating.
I love that word.
Nice. Well, Charlie, the new record, for people that haven't followed along, you started this process, 3-4 years ago now with a bigger concept, to do 3 records that took you through, I guess, through peace and serenity right up to world chaos.
Kind of like life.
Yeah, exactly true, man. And it is kind of I don't know how much you want to get into the story because I don't know how much you want to give away, but you really threw... saying it's a curveball with 03 is a massive understatement, man. The twist that you put on the end of this is just unbelievable, man. It's really great stuff.
Thank you very much. But to me, it just comes naturally because it's just my thoughts. I'm just expressing what I've been thinking for the past 20 years.
Right. Now,
feeling and finding evidence of, by the way.
And that's the interesting thing with 03. I am one that listens religiously to your Coast to Coast AMs, your George Norrie and that thing where I hear constantly this conspiracy, that conspiracy, the UFO theories, all these different theories, and it was amazing to me how you've kind of incorporated a lot of that talk into 03 specifically. Are you a fan of that stuff, or do you study that stuff?
I study everything, Chris. I mean, I'm one of these people who's just a sponge for information, and I read all the stuff. Nostradamus, existentialism, Joseph Campbell, Carl Jung, Carl Sagan, the Kabbalah, the Quran, the Bible. I mean, the list goes on and on. I want it all. I want to know. I want the truth. I want the truth. I just want the truth.
I'm curious, as somebody that also is like that, I am constantly reading it, watching it on History Channel, finding it.
I can't turn it off.
Yeah, me either. I can't. I'm curious for a fellow conspiracyite, as you and I both are, what theory do you believe right now? Do you believe in the biblical theory or the Mayan theory or which one is closest to what you're believing right now?
That's a good question, Chris. You really know how to ask a loaded question. I think it's kind of like a sculpture, like a sculptor, because I'm involved in many different forms of art, and there was a time when I used to paint and draw and sculpt and things. And the thing about a sculpture is that you chip away the parts that are not the sculpture in order to reveal your vision of the sculpture.
Right.
In other words, an artist looks at a piece of rock and he sees the sculpture inside and in his mind, and then he chips away the parts that are not the sculpture, and then there you have the sculpture. So I wanted to give that little metaphor because it's my attitude towards life. I want all the information so I could weed through the bullshit and find the truth. Now, just without getting real long-winded about it, there's a hell of a lot of fucking bullshit going on in the world. And one of the things that I really nailed it down last time on part 2 was the song Greed.
Right.
You know? And where the guys, a lot of people, I don't know if they know, but in that part of the story, the so-called quote unquote terrorist is actually on a soapbox in Manhattan, and he's like talking to people, and they're all gathered around him, and that's why you hear the police car come up, and it's that detective, and he's, that's him. All right, preacher boy, come on. You know, typical New York detective.
Right.
Tell your story to your faithful followers where you're going. As you can tell, it was my voice.
Right.
And the whole point is that the guy, the terrorist guy, as nuts as he is right. Everything that goes on in this world, you can give me any subject, any problem, anywhere in the world, and I can show you how it's traced back to simple greed.
Sure. Absolutely, man.
So the whole thing that there's this new awareness now, and you know, a lot of people are starting to feel it. Most people are still asleep, but hopefully they will wake up in time. And this whole thing is, I don't know if a lot of people are starting to realize that things are speeding up. I can't turn off the BBC. I can't turn off the CNN. I'm all the time watching. I'm at my computer, and I got my eye, in the corner of my eye, I'm watching the streaming news at the bottom. I got I just can't. I'm like in like a control room at an air traffic controller's tower, you know, watching the world, watching the prophecies unfold, and I'm noticing it speeding up and speeding up, and all these things that I've seen have an interesting common thread. Right. And it all ties together. And I put that thread in my trilogy, and I started it back in 2005, but it started in my brain. I think it started in my soul more than 20 years ago, you know. And back when I can have the earliest memory of a sleeper cell. I don't know if you remember first hearing sleeper cell. Might have been 1980 or 75.
Right, yeah.
You know. Like, what the hell is a sleeper cell? Oh, it's this guy that they train and they put in your country, and then he cuts his hair and he shaves his beard and he pretends he pretends he's an ordinary Joe, and he lives there and he gets a job and he lives there, and then when they call him, he does this whacked out crazy terror attack. And I said to myself, well, what would happen if that guy was like here for like 10 years and he started to realize, hey, you know, this is way better than living in the sand. You know, I got like a house and a car, I got a beautiful babe, I'm making money, and I have my own business. And then they come knocking on the door and threaten to kill his relatives if he doesn't follow through. And I always said to myself, wow, you know, how does that work? Right. And this was years and years ago. So as we started to go through time and I started to see things happen, and September 11th being one of the main things that made me say, okay, it's time to turn on all the news channels, read all the papers, read all the books, read all the stories, find out what's going on here, because people don't just crash planes into towers just because there's some stupid belief. Right. Something's going on. There's some kind of backstory, right? Sure. Well, let me tell you, the backstory is pretty intense, and all of those things that I won't get into because it's just it's really complicated and just extensive are parts of what are in the trilogy. And I remember when I first did part 1, I did it acoustically because I just didn't have a band. I mean, when you got lemons, nothing but lemons, you make lemonade. Right, sure. If you're a positive thinking person, which I am. So I did it with the acoustic guitar. I didn't give a shit if Dream Theater fans or fans who knew me from When Dreaming Day and Night or even Frankie and the Knockouts or any of the shit I did before. I didn't care what they thought. This wasn't why I did it. I did it on a PC, all by myself. I was the engineer, producer, writer, album cover, everything, record company, everything myself. I had to hit the record button with the guitar in my hand and go in the closet that I stapled all these, you know, egg cartons up to deaden it up and sit in front of a mic and record the part all the way through with no punch. I couldn't punch anything in. So it was all live playing. The same with the vocals on that first album. And then I just said, you know what, if there's a mistake here and there, no big deal, you know, it's live. So you're hearing, and then I decided to really keep it simple and not even put one guitar overdub or one vocal harmony, and not no overdubs that I couldn't actually reproduce if I was sitting on a chair with the acoustic guitar and a harmonica holder, you know, like Bob Dylan used to have. Right. I could reproduce that. And I remember when you guys first heard it, I got to tell you, I remember you were like, yeah, right. Unwilling volunteer. What the hell is that? Was that you or was that Neeley? That was me. You guys made that. That was you. That was me. What the hell is an unwilling volunteer? You know what an unwilling volunteer is, right? Were you ever in the military?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, an unwilling volunteer is, I need a volunteer. You, and you. Let's go.
Right.
Which is what that was. You know, he was an unwilling volunteer. He's 10 years old. They dragged him out of his bed. His parents were screaming, and they, pulled him into the desert and trained him.
Absolutely.
And you didn't expect back then that it was going to turn into this, did you?
Hey, you. Why are you watching this with commercials? Go commercial-free and unlock exclusive content. Become a VIP today on Locals, Substack, or Rumble Premium. Stop waiting.
No, and that's kind of the interesting thing, I'll be quite honest, Charlie, and I've told you this before. I'm no Dream Theater groupie like a lot of people are, and with that, when I first heard the record, the first record, I was kind of like, all right, it's acoustic or whatnot, but I don't think at that point in time you could actually, get the picture. I just honestly don't, because it's so serene and it's so soft. Now that I have all three and I can put A to B to C, it makes a whole lot of sense. And maybe, like you said, maybe it was Lemons then, but at the same time, it works beautifully into the transition of the story now.
Because there was a method to my madness.
Well,
I'm funny that way, I'm like, do you ever see the movie with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino, The Devil's Advocate?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Pacino says, your problem is you're too loud. You got to make yourself so they never see you coming. That's me. They never see me coming.
Right, exactly. Well, Charlie, obviously. Since then.
A little reverb on that laugh.
Well, Charlie, obviously since then you have put together a band, and part two really, really, put your name back out there, established you with a lot of the prog metal people. But this new one, I don't think this is really a prog record at all anymore, is it? It's very, very heavy.
It's melodic progressive metal. It's the style of music that I always envisioned that we almost achieved when Dreaming Day and Night, but there wasn't the production couldn't support what you need to have, like what the production is on part 03 part 3. I mean, if you put on a real good pair of headphones and crank, and you got a real good power amp and you got a good laser in your CD player, you're gonna hear some, you're gonna rumble. I mean, I'd rattle my brain with this thing when I listen to it sometimes. I can't believe I'm not deaf. But because I always wanted to create something it would be something that I like to listen to. Because I listen to shit and I'm always skipping over tracks,
Right.
And burning CDs with 2 tracks that I like from this 12-song CD, and 1 track I like from this other 11-song CD. But I can go. I really am happy. I'm really proud of this record because I put my heart and soul into it. I mean, I slept in the studio this time. I was sick as a dog. I was on antibiotics through the whole thing because the antibiotics didn't work the first time. I had to go. The doctor had to come back and give me 1,000 milligrams a day. And I'm not making excuses because I actually think the album came out great.
Sure.
I don't think I could do it any better now that I'm not sick. But that's how driven I was. I was a man on a mission that I was going to wrap this trilogy up. I didn't even have my advance yet from the record company. I said, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to fucking Sardinia. I had not written one single word, and the guys were like, what? I said, no, don't worry, man. I got it all in my head. And they're like, you didn't write the lyrics? Because every other time I came with all the lyrics and made it easy,
Right.
No, don't worry about it.
Nice.
They right away put the 2 pots of espresso on the stove, and we got started.
Sure. Well,
but because I produced this. I produced all 3 myself, and my production I think has gotten a little better too, and I'm glad that it got better in time for this album, because this album really needed to be represented. There's really, I think it's what I like to listen to.
Well, Charlie, the one thing that I did notice production-wise from the record, and I wanted to make in fact, I even wrote it down to make a point to bring this up with you. You used keyboards, but unlike everybody else out there that uses keyboards, it wasn't just a noodling effect to have keyboards. You really used the keyboards as little more than, kind of mood setups on some of the tunes, especially some of the parts with the, when the aliens are coming in, that you've got that swirly swirling effect, but it's laid in the background enough to where it's not just, hey, here's keyboard guy noodling. You know what I mean?
Oh, you knew that was you think that was a keyboard?
Yeah. There's
That's
not
a freaking spaceship, man.
Oh.
That was a freaking spaceship.
It was real, right?
Well, you don't think spaceships are real?
Oh,
We have our own spaceships. It's called the fucking shuttle.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? People crack me up, when they say, "I ain't fucking you up out there, little green men." You know what I say? I say that somewhere. You ever go to the planetarium where like they show you like the galaxy, and then they show you this little tiny speck of shit, dust, nothing. That's the Earth. I say to myself, somewhere in another galaxy, not just this one I'm talking about, that where we're just a little speck. Somewhere in another galaxy, there are two possibly green men arguing over whether there's intelligent life on Earth. And I personally think they're right. There isn't any.
Very nice. Well, with part 3 here, Charlie, it really seems like I'm surprised, honestly, that you didn't have a lot of it written when you went into the studio, because, like you said, and like I've said, the story is so full. When you were writing it, and were there any parts that as you were putting it together, where you struggled to come up with the right direction to go, or you tried different directions and it didn't work, because it just seems so well laid out, like a novel?
Actually, there were a few parts that I struggled with. It was everything in between the first note and the last note on the record. I struggled with the whole fucking thing. Let me tell you something. If I wasn't sick, it would have been difficult. I was sleeping in the studio, Chris. I was sleeping. The guys somehow figured out that the best place to put the guitar stacks, the amp bottoms, speaker bottoms, and the Mesa Boogie fucking huge speaker bottom facing my fucking bed. Like with just their solid vision backdrop that they have for their regular band,
right.
That thin black sheet thing with between me and those amps and like 12 inches away. I mean, I really wasn't getting sleep, but I was I was a man on a mission, like I said. But the whole thing was a struggle because I really needed to complete the story. And when I first started it, I said, I was doing part 1. I can't do this in one album. This is going to be like 2, maybe 3. So I think 3 would probably be enough. But you know what? When we started doing 3, I felt like I needed to do a double album, because I really wanted to. There really needed to be 3 more songs or 4 more, and they might have been 10 minutes long the way we were writing it, especially
right.
towards the end. So I said, you know what? I don't have the time or the money. We got to get this done. I got to go to Germany and mix and master it. I got to get out of here. I got to get it done. And I haven't, I was writing down the lyrics in the middle of the night, jumping out of bed and jotting something down, banging my knee against the freaking bass amp and finding a piece of paper to write down a lyric, a line, so that I would remember my train of thought the next day, so I could go back to the computer upstairs. I had Word files opened up with nothing in them, just empty Word files. Once I knew that I figured, actually I started with like 10 or 11, I think, and then I whittled it down to 8 because, we obviously started writing the music, and as I was writing the music, we were writing the music together, and I was starting to realize which song this was becoming. I went back and I wrote a little synopsis at the top, and I basically wrote a little synopsis at the top of each Word file so that I could break the story up so that I could complete it, so I wouldn't get to the end of the session, the end of the CD, and we didn't get to the end of the story.
Right.
So it was a little trick that I used that I learned in I don't know where I learned it. I learned it in the Army. I might have learned it in the Army, but I was never in the Army, so it could have been that. Anyway, I got the whole thing. I got the whole thing pretty much like what came to my mind was that the lyrics weren't written; they were grown like a garden.
Right.
The seeds were planted, and then you watered them, and then you watched the little seedlings come up, and then you tended each one, and then you brought them all up together. That's how I wrote the lyrics. That's how we wrote the song.
So now the thing that I hear too, Charlie, is in theory, and this is just me theorizing because I don't know, but in theory you kind of left room to write 03 The Aftermath. Is that even a possibility, or will you move to a new topic next time?
I will not do another concept album as long as I fucking live. that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess.
Actually, you know, the 03 trilogy is so complete because if you listen to the album, you know what happens at the end.
Sure.
The rest of the story has been written already. It's all in the books and the Bible and all the books and everything that you see. I mean, supposedly, the world began with this character that winds up at the end of the story, right?
Right, exactly.
You know, so that's the whole concept of infinity and timelessness and, you know, been there, deja vu, why is that? Is that real? You know, time-space continuum, curved space theory. You know, all this stuff, if you go straight out in a straight line in space, supposedly if you go for enough light years, you'll come back to right where you started, and space is curved.
Sure.
And time is not even linear. It's just a concept. I mean, that's why when we think about, you know, something we did 20 years ago, it's like, oh man, it seems like only yesterday. You know what? It was even sooner than yesterday because it was just in that instant that you just thought about it. It only exists in your mind. So when you really look at this theory, what really happens is it lays out a thesis that cannot be argued, cannot be refuted. I dare anybody to prove to me that what this story is impossible to ever happen or have happened. In fact, I was debating whether to do this one. I was going to tell interviewers when they asked me, it's a true story. It's not a theory. It's not a what do you call it, a fantasy or a novel. It's a true story. And you know it's a true story? I mean, look where it ends. It ends with what we all know as, you know, the beginning of time. So it all happened millions of years ago.
Follow the chaos. The Classic Metal Show is live on X. Stream all the episodes for free, watch the show live every Saturday night, or just get there and find out what is going on with the Classic Metal Show. Get your metal feed, x.com/CMS Rocks.
Right. There's actually a movie, Charlie. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie or not, but when I listened to 03, I immediately thought of this movie and I actually went and picked it up and watched it again. I mean, it's definitely not the same story, but it kind of your story and their story kind of intertwines. You ever see this movie Mission to Mars?
Yeah, I saw Mission to Mars with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis.
It was
Bruce Willis in it?
It was Gary Sinise.
That's the one. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. That's the one where they showed the animals migrating out of the water and turning into mammals.
Right. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I've seen all that stuff. Yeah, all that stuff is based on the same kind of theories. I thought you were going to mention 12 Monkeys.
No, 12 Monkeys is another one, but 12 Monkeys, the only reason I don't put that is because 12 Monkeys just turned out to be fake at the end, you know? Yeah,
well, 12 Monkeys, what 12 Monkeys was based on? It was based on an old film, an old short film called La Jetée.
Right.
Yeah, which was very similar, where it starts out where the kid sees a man die on the jetée, which is a jetty.
Right.
Jetée is French for the jetty, which is a dock, for
those
who don't know. And the kid he finds out in the end that it's him on the dock, and he sees himself die. So the 12 Monkeys was kind of based on that too.
Sure.
Yeah, Bruce Willis he was the nut job in that movie. Yeah.
Right.
And Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was great in that movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I love movies. I've seen all the movies. I've seen them all, and that's all part of my quest, my thirst for knowledge and information.
Sure. Absolutely.
So it's similar. But you know what? When you find these common threads, it's not that people are copying, because you know what? I found out recently that there's a couple of prog metal bands out there that actually are doing similar things along the same lines, and I never even heard these guys because I don't listen to anything anymore because I don't want to be influenced.
Right.
And also because I don't have time. I mean, I am listening to playbacks and mixes and remixes and ideas that I'm writing and stuff. I don't have time really to like recreationally listen to somebody else's stuff.
Sure.
But a lot of people are tuned into the same thing. It happens a lot in film where there comes an era every once in a while. But lately what's happening is the era of some type of awakening. And there is something now called a Great Awakening. And I have references to it on my website, Dominici.com. I want to give a big shout out to all my pals at Dominici.com and my new forum.
Okay.
And come and visit. Shout out to all my pals, especially the guys that are really making it run for me because I don't have time.
Right.
BFS, Blot, Van Dam, Zeppelin, DT, Nick, Boss One, all these cool people that are really, really in my corner. And I'll tell you what, I don't really give a shit about money. When I make it, all these people are going to be getting a lot of it because I don't really want it. Money's a pain in the ass. I just want food. I want a motorcycle. I want a laptop and guitar.
Nice. Well, Charlie. Well, Charlie. December 21st, 2012. Will that be the night that it all ends or not?
At 11:11, to be precise. No, it doesn't end. Who told you it ends?
Well, that's one theory. Is that's the time that the asteroid or whatever.
That's a common misconception. That's an easy way for people to say, "Oh yeah, underworld theory. I'm going to be really laughing my ass off on the next day." It's not the end of the world.
Right.
It's a time of a great shift of consciousness. You have to read more into it. You have to really read it. The Mayans knew about it. You know how old that civilization was?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people are just so skeptical just because their minds can't comprehend that I don't mean to be condescending to anyone, and religion-wise or concept-wise or politically or in any of those manners. I don't mean to be condescending when I say this, but not everybody is a multidimensional thinker, and when you realize certain things. And you see the common threads, and you see what's happening, and then you look at the facts that a lot of people are so quick to dispute. Like in the end of '03, in Genesis, after that monster introduction for almost 5 minutes,
right?
And it settles down, and then the alien. I shouldn't even call it an alien because maybe we're the aliens and those are the Earthlings. I mean, everything is so subjective, objective, counter argument, point counterpoint. So
right.
When they start saying, long ago, our visits were recorded on great stones. Well, those are the pyramids.
Sure.
Great stones. Recorded on great stones. Well, yeah, those pictures that they chipped with their chisels of men in flying machines on the pyramids that actually exist.
Right.
Wow. Where'd they get that idea?
Exactly.
So, and man became more sinister. He was best left alone, which explains why they don't hang out anymore like they used to.
Right.
So, and it goes on and on, to say, those in power hid the truth, though some had learned firsthand, we are the real creators of what lived upon this land. Oh, man, did I get, you're anti-God, That's so clues-minded thinking, because it doesn't say that there's nothing anti-God about it at all. If God is as great as some people think, why would they limit him to having only created man on earth during this brief period of time that amounts to just a brief nanosecond compared to eternity?
Right.
They could have just been some messengers that were sent by some other messengers, by the other messengers from the messengers of God.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, anything that people say, I always take with a grain of salt, because it's not about what people think anyway. It's about the real truth. And not many people really can see the real truth.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, Charlie, the new album, 03, A Trilogy, Part 3, fantastic release. It's for people that don't even want this message. If you don't even care about the message, you can still love this record because it's heavy, it's hard. It's just a great metal record. And Charlie, you know what you just did? You know what you just did?
What's that? You just answered the question that you wanted to ask people in your interviews that I saw on your website about what about people who don't want to think and just want to bang their head.
Right. Well, that's exactly it, man.
That's exactly it. You know what? You don't have to think. Just put the record on and just, maybe I should start like not enunciating my words as well, and be like more like some of these other vocalists who say, and just, Hey, this little kid, the funniest thing, I just gotta tell you this really quick.
Okay.
Remember the song Solid? Solid as a rock.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's why you're solid, right?
Right.
Well, this little 6-year-old girl asked me one time if I could play the song "Sally Has a Rock." Sally has a rock.
Sally has a rock. Nice.
You remember being a little kid like, "Oh, look out, he's got a rock."
Nice.
Did you think the song said Sally has a rock? That's so fucking perfect. Love it. And you know, it was another good one.
What's that?
In the old days, you know, when we were all hippies, you know, we used to try to eat like healthy. I eat really healthy now, but, you know, for a long time I didn't. But back then, I didn't eat chocolate. I ate carob, you know.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if you know what carob is. So there was another kid that, you know, his parents were health freaks, and he thought that taking care of business, you know, taking care of business, he thought it was baking carob biscuits.
Nice.
Little kids have the most truth in them, man.
There's tons of those songs, man. You know the song "Blinded by the Light," right? Blinded by the light. You know that one, right?
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. I still don't know what they say.
Don't know that. Yeah.
I still have no idea in that song. You know, they go "blinded by the light," and I've always forever thought that they said "wrapped up like a douche," but I don't know what he says. You know?
Wrapped up like a deuce, I thought it was.
Is it a deuce? I always thought it was a douche.
Yeah. Well, Springsteen's lyrics are always not only hard to decipher, but once you know what he's saying, it's hard to figure out what he's saying. But I understand him. He's a poet, you know.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Charlie, obviously the new album, 03, a trilogy, part 3. It is in the stores. It's fantastic release, and why don't you go ahead so that we can to end the interview? Why don't you go ahead and pick a tune from it that you'd like to end the interview with?
As long as you don't mind running for 10 minutes on a song.
We can go 25 minutes, Charlie. That's all good.
All right, cool. Because lately my favorite song is "Enemies of God."
Nice. Well, here it is. This is Dominici with "Enemies of God" right here on your Classic Metal Show.
Are you ready to shred? CMS Rocks is your 24/7 heavy metal fortress. We bring you the best of metal, from classic anthems to the latest shredders. Experience Metal Shop Mondays and catch the Classic Metal Show replay every Wednesday. Why pay for metal when CMS Rocks blasts the best, heaviest tunes all day, every day? Tune in now, wherever you are, on your phone or any device at www.cmsradio.net. Don't drop cash on streaming. Let CMS Rocks destroy your speakers with the ultimate metal playlist. Tune in now at www.cmsradio.net and get your face ripped off.